Good afternoon, colleagues, friends, supporters, and all of you who've gathered with us today to celebrate the life and the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It is our pleasure to begin the program this morning. We will officially welcome you in just a moment. But before we get to that point on the program, we're going to share a brief video with you. And I'm going to toss the program to my colleague and our branch president, Wale Alegbade, to share just a few words before we cue the video. Wale?
Thank you, Barbara, and just want to welcome you all to the celebration of Dr. King's life legacy and an opportunity for us to renew our efforts. The Rochester branch of the NAACP is so humbled and appreciative of you joining us today, and we hope that you are inspired. We hope that you are we're in community, and also that we are able to take further action. So thank you for today.
African Americans and other people of color are dying from COVID-19 at alarming rates.
This year, they've taken away everything.
We're here today because George Floyd is not here.
2020 reminded us we've only come so far.
And many of these restrictions had a disparate impact on Black voters.
A year that threatened decades of progress. And rather than accept it, we decided to fight. We persisted, organized our people, remembered where we came from, and most importantly, remembered where we're going. We organized, we inspired, we voted, and voted, and voted. We volunteered, we remembered. We always remember, because we can't afford to forget, to be counted, to stop the hate, to empower ourselves and our community. We are the NAACP, still fighting for justice, still fighting for survival, still fighting for you.
Fantastic. Thank you. I always get inspired when I see that video to remind me why we do the work that we do. And later in our program today, we will hear from one of our former branch presidents and our state conference president, W.C. Jordan, as to why NAACP is still so important in our communities, in our state, and in our country. So stay tuned for that. So Wale, I think we're keying up the next component of our program, which is a virtual Freedom March. For those of you, and many of you I know, have been with us for years as we host the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration activities. And with that, you have participated in the Freedom March through downtown Rochester. And unfortunately, due to the circumstances of COVID, we aren't able to march this year. We weren't able to march next year, but I'm already visioning that march in 2023. But we won't be outdone. So I want to thank our branch secretary, Kendra, for pulling together this virtual march. Enjoy. Wonderful. Wow. I know she doesn't like to get publicly acknowledged for all the work that she does, but Kendra, that was fantastic. Kendra Maymaker serves as our assistant secretary for the Rochester branch, and she does so much more in our community, in our organization where we are colleagues. The images were just so powerful, and to be reminded as folks are marching in Washington, D.C. right now for voting rights, how important that is and how folks have lost their lives. Our ancestors, many lost their lives just in pursuit of the vote, which is constitutionally given to us and almost as a human right to vote for those who govern us. So to see those images, it really was powerful and reminds us as organizations, as individuals, we still have so much work to do. Thank you again for that. And now, Wale, if you'll join me, Wale and I are going to give you an official welcome to our virtual Community People's Program. Our Community People's Program is typically referred to as the afternoon program. And the purpose of the program is simple: to celebrate the life and the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King gave his life so that people could have dignity. And with his courage, we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. So that alone is cause to celebrate, to stop, to reflect, to pause. And we're glad you're with us on that journey, albeit a very short and virtual journey this morning. I think the impact and the continuity of us saying as community, the weather, the virus, none of that's going to stop our pursuit of Dr. King's dream. So, Brother President, I know you think about this a lot. I heard your comments this morning, so it underscored exactly what we're thinking here. I'd love for you to share a few words as we welcome all of us who are those out in virtual land joining us today.
Absolutely, Barbara. So I'll first of all thank Kendra, for an amazing job. The slides were great. And in addition to being our assistant secretary, Kendra is also our chair of membership. So she wore multiple hats. And Mrs. Jordan, thank you for being our matriarch and the leadership that you provide. To our community members, today it's a really important day. And every year, on January 17, we reflect on Dr. King's legacy. But as Barbara just shared, when you look at voting rights, when you look at economic opportunities, there's still a lot of work to be done. So the question for us is, what are we going to do? Is this going to be another year where we reflect and we think at Dr. King's words? But then what do we do afterwards, right? So it needs to be a year of action. But in terms of the Community People's Program from the NAACP and our executive committee, we're just so appreciative of you being here. We have a lot of honored guests, a lot of great panelists. So I think you guys are in for an amazing treat. So can't wait to get started.
Thank you, Brother President, and thank you for your leadership as we move forward as a branch. And I believe at this point, we are going to welcome, and I'd ask you to do so as our president, our mayor, a friend of the branch, a friend of many of us. I love to point out that Kim and I go way back 20, 30 years in support of this community, working at the school board level, at the county, city council level, and just, it's great to have you with us, Mayor. But I'm going to ask our president to officially welcome you and officially introduce you. Thank you both.
So, Madam Mayor, Ms. Kim Norton, we're very excited for you to be here. For people that don't know, because we have people that are watching us not just in Rochester, but and beyond. This is our mayor of Rochester, a strong leader, and we are most appreciative for you joining us. I know that you have some special words you want to share, and I'll let you do the honors of that.
Thank you so much, Wale and Barbara. It's a real joy to be here. Thank you for the honor of allowing me to share a proclamation with you this morning. My many years of involvement with some directly with the NAACP, but every year that I've been in town and available at these wonderful events. I also just want to say how much I did appreciate that video. We most certainly and somewhat, well, not just somewhat, we most certainly and sadly have reason to continue to march. I hope someday that won't be necessary except in honor and celebration of Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King's life. So it's my pleasure today to be with you and to offer this proclamation as mayor of the city of Rochester. Whereas on January 15th, 1929, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was born in Atlanta, Georgia. A transformational leader and civil rights icon, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted his life to advancing equity, social justice, and opportunity for all, and challenging all Americans to participate in the never-ending work of building a more perfect union. Whereas the city of Rochester, Minnesota encourages and promotes a strong and inclusive community that recognizes and celebrates efforts to bring all people together for the greater good. And whereas our community has a long history of celebrating and commemorating the life, legacy, and vision of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s teachings continue to guide and inspire us in addressing challenges in our communities today and into the future. He reminds us life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. encouraged us to commit ourselves in service to others, reminding us that if we ever doubt what we can do, to remember that everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. And whereas each of us can and must contribute to making our community, Rochester, Minnesota, better with increased opportunity for all our citizens, and whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. proclaimed, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream of freedom, equality, and justice is something we must strive for. He looked forward to the day when everyone could be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Now, therefore, I, Kim Norton, Mayor of the City of Rochester, Minnesota, hereby proclaim January 17th, 2022 as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Rochester, Minnesota. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the corporate seal of the City of Rochester to be affixed this 17th day of January in 2022. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to share that proclamation with you and to spend the rest of the morning with you on this very special and important day. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor, I mean, this is if we can have a proclamation for Dr. King, then who can we have a proclamation for? So thank you for the honor of doing this for the community.
Ditto, Mayor Norton. Thank you. Your words were beautiful. So thank you so much. And we do invite you to stay. I'm glad that you'll be able to stay with us. And for those of you out there in virtual land, as you know, this program will be archived on our Rochester branch NAACP Facebook page and on our website, I believe. Brother President is our help desk, our tech, our IT department, and he'll make sure that it's readily available. So for those who, is that right, Wale? Will it be on the website as well?
It's going to be on the website. It's going to be on YouTube. So the program will be readily available.
Fantastic. So we'll invite you to invite your friends and family to take a look. It's always rewarding to us and very encouraging for us to see that these events do get hundreds and in some cases thousands of views. So thank you so much, Mayor. And now we'll keep the program moving. I'm so excited and so grateful to Ken Rowe, who will be leading us with our invocation. And he is one of those people where you can truly say a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to share just a brief introduction about Ken Rowe, or as many of us on the screen and in the community know him as Pastor Ken Rowe. So Pastor Rowe is a veteran. He has served in so many ways. He is a pastor of our faith community, Christ Church of the Jesus Hour. He is a father. He is a grandfather, and he is a great grandfather. I hope that we all get to live to be great grand somethings one of these days. So God bless you, Pastor. Pastor Rowe, we've heard in our faith community yesterday, we heard the word service and serve, and Mayor Norton reminded us of how important that was to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I think anyone who knows you knows that you are indeed a servant leader. And most importantly, Pastor Rowe is just a wonderful human being. So we're delighted to have him at the last minute because, things happen. So to join us and be a part of our program and share an invocation with us today. Pastor Rowe, thank you, and please proceed as you see.
Sister Barbara, thank you so much. President Waleed, we thank you for this opportunity. Would you all please bow with me? We're so honored to be able to give you this invocation today. Father in heaven, Father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. Father, we come at this special day and time and say thank you. Thank you, Father. You're the one who delivered your children out of bondage in Egypt into a land of promise. And we ask you today to lead us, this Rochester community, in this United States of America, from an enslavement to hatred, ignorance, fear, racism, injustice, or anything that prevents us from being the community and the nation of love and respect that you have instructed us to be. We remember and we are so grateful today, and we pray every day for the life, legacy, and the witness of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Father, we ask you that we would have the courage and the determination to follow his example and to continue the battle of injustice, and living in a world where the gospel of love can be demonstrated. We thank you so much for this great opportunity to remember and to celebrate this wonderful life of your servant. Help us, Lord, to make even more greater community and nation that you would have us to be. This we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you so much. I hope you're able to stay with us. So at this point, we are going to toss to I'm going to call her our program committee chair for today's program. She's so humble. She probably will be mad at me, but I don't care, Kendra, because you've done so much work to make this happen. So I'm going to toss to you to introduce our next program participant.
Thank you, Barbara. Community members, Destiny Whitehorn is 18 years old and is the daughter of Bud and Stephanie Whitehorn. She graduated from Mayo High School in 2021 and is now not only working hard to support her family's business, Whitehorn Reliable Transportation, but she is also working in support of her own dreams of entrepreneurship. And I want to share with you all that whenever I call into the community to get youth involved, Destiny's name is one of the top 3 that comes to mind. And I am so pleased that Destiny is able to share the gifts God gave her and to help us out and help her family out as well. So Destiny, if you want to come on camera, Destiny will be singing the song. Destiny, I'll just kick it to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll be singing the National Black Anthem for you guys. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who has brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Least our feet straight from the places, our God, where we meet thee. Least our hearts drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Destiny. I love seeing you on the screen and I love hearing your voice. Thank you so much. Brother President, what you think?
Destiny, thank you for the gift of your voice and just thank you. That was amazing.
Thank you. And thank you for role modeling. As Kendra said, we need young people in the fight for social justice. We need young freedom fighters on the battlefield. And your role modeling by being a part of today's program and all of the other things you do in community is so appreciated. So thank you. And we'll be hitting you up for a few more things.
Yeah. And for all the other youths out there, you know, it doesn't matter how old you are, you know, what your station is, your age, everybody has something to contribute. So
Amen.
we want everybody, we want every talent, every energy in the game. So thank you,
Yes.
Destiny.
Yes, Brother President, I always like to quote former president, my president, Barack Obama, who says, we need every brain in the game. So young people, generationally, those of us at the other end of the spectrum, there's work for all of us. So thank you again, Destiny. Beautiful job.
Thank you.
And Wale, I'm going to toss to you now as we take a moment. Speaking of gratitude, we can't do any of this work alone, whether it's in community or in the state or in the nation. The NAACP counts on our allies, our supporters, and our friends. And I think you're going to help us to make sure we recognize and show our gratitude. Wally, we're not hearing you. You're on mute.
Thank you, Barbara. So first of all, I want to thank the Rochester Posse, Tyler Ogg, and also Fat Dude Productions for the entertainment that you're providing. In terms of Tyler, essentially there's going to be a video smash up that we did last year, and we're going to be highlighting that. And so we thank him for his commitment and his support, and for Fat Dude Productions for always being at the ready whenever we call them for entertainment. So appreciate that. The other thing that we'll probably need to do, and I'm going to move to the slide here, is all of our program participants. So Mayor Norton, thank you for the proclamation. Most important, Pastor Kenneth Rowe, thank you for your invocation and getting us ready. Destiny Whitehorn, thank you for your gift. You know, Jonava Patton, Catherine Grays, Ms. Jackie Trotter, Mia Erickson, Signe Fry, Manala Badi, and also to the youths, the parents who made the smash up possible. So a lot of people to really thank. And obviously we cannot do it all. It takes a village. And so I just want to acknowledge the work that our NAACP Planning Committee has done. So Ms. Barbara Jordan, thank you for your work and your support. Kendra, Mr. W.C. Jordan, Virginia Wright, for their relentless efforts in making sure that we're able to keep providing value to our members in our community. So Barbara, lots of people to thank, but we also can't do this without the community. So community members, all of you all that are watching, this is also for you. So thank you for your support and being here.
Thank you so much, President-elect Bede. That's so important that we do stop and recognize and know that we don't take any of that for granted. We sincerely appreciate all of the support. So we'll keep the program moving. And Wale mentioned Tyler. And what's the last name, Wale?
Tyler Ogg. I hope I'm saying it right. I think it's Tyler Ogg. And Tyler,
Okay.
Otherwise, but I think that's the way I pronounce it. And he hasn't corrected me, so maybe he's showing.
And tell us about his business, Wale.
Well, Tyler, I mean, they're in everything. So him and his wife, they own Canvas and Chardonnay. So when you're thinking about artwork in Rochester, they've been heavily involved there. But Tyler, he helps with videos, and so what he did was he essentially donated his time last year to help create the video smash up. But when it comes to social justice, he's also somebody that he takes this really seriously, as well as the Fat Dude Productions that Kendra can talk more about. But we really appreciate the work. So when it comes to just if you have a message and you want to get it out, that's what Tyler does. And he makes it good too.
Perfect. And Kendra, while Wale's queuing up the video for the smash up, and I'll give just a brief intro, tell us about Fat Dude Productions, because I know you and Jeremy have worked together for the past several years in support of our programming.
Absolutely, Barbara. I want to definitely thank Jeremy Felder, Brother Jeremy Felder, who is a fellow parishioner. I use that word, it might not be the right one, but of RCBC Church here in Rochester. And Fat Dude Productions is his production company. I love attending so many of the entertainment productions that he puts on all around town. A lot of comedy shows at the VFW in Northwest Rochester, comedy shows at the Mayo Civic Center. This work is pretty heavy, right? And so we need to remember to laugh with one another. And Fat Dude Productions and Brother Jeremy know how to bring it as a deacon in our church, and he also knows how to bring it through the celebratory nature of his business at Fat Dude. So thank you so much to Brother Jeremy.
Amen. Thank you, Brother Jeremy, and another wonderful human. So
Yes.
Let's show him some love. And y'all, when you need that kind of, we are going to, and I'm going to preview this for you in the spring, or as soon as we get a green light in terms of the virus, we are going to have the biggest and the best Freedom Fund banquet we could ever have, because we've been having to postpone for the past several years due to virus and various reasons. And with the support and the blessing of our president, we are going to celebrate Black business and recognize via some awards and just celebrate Black business who often go unnoticed. But I can say that Kendra has done a lot on behalf of our branch to elevate Black business in our community. And of course, Fat Dude Productions is one of those businesses that we'd like to recognize. Brother President, I don't know if you have any further thoughts about that.
Yeah, I do. We will definitely do that, and we're excited about this opportunity. But it's also, I think, in our city of Rochester, if we want Black businesses to stay and minority businesses, we need to have a really favorable environment. So there's something that we can do from the city, from the county, from our small businesses, right? So we're excited about that, because we have a lot of talent coming to Rochester. and then sometimes we see them leaving. So if we want our businesses to say, it's going to take all of us, similar to our, buy local, we need to have, support your minority owned businesses as well.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and
Thank you.
as this pandemic comes to a, let's, God willing, that we turn the corner on the pandemic and this summer we all find ways to get together. Let's remember that organizations, businesses like Tyler's, like Rochester Posse, like Fat Dudes, they are there to help and put on a show, put on events, so much better than any of us could probably do without them. So let's remember to patronize those businesses. And if you're putting on an event, if you are a community organization putting on an event, reach out to them.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're going to give you another commercial a little later in our program, as we are already planning a full slate of activities for Black History Month 2022. So be sure and hang in there. I just want to point out to Wale and Kendra, who have the run of show, the timed agenda. We are right on time. We're actually a few minutes early. So with that, we'll go right into our smash up. Last year we did this on at the last minute and ask our kids to help us. Well, they give me half a second with a video smash up, as they call it, using some of Dr. King's words. And so we pulled it off, and it was such a great project that we decided we'll use it again. It's just a few minutes, but we'll use it again this year, and look forward to your feedback if you enjoy it. Shout out to us on the Facebook Live, or give these kids lots of love, because they did a fantastic job. So Wale, can you take it from the top? Can you up the volume, Wale? We'll get it together here. Give our tech team a few seconds. There we go.
If a man is called to be a street sweeper,
he should sweep streets, even as Michelangelo painted,
or Beethoven composed music,
or Shakespeare wrote poetry.
He should sweep streets so well
that all the host of heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great
street sweeper who did his job well.
What I'm saying to you this morning, my friend, even if it falls your lot to be a street sweeper, go on out and sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Sweep streets like Handel and Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep streets so well that all the host of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper who swept his job well. If you can't be a pine on the top of the hill, be a scrub in the valley, but be the best little scrub on the side of the reel. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. It isn't by size that you win or you fail. Be the best of whatever you are. And when you do this, you've mastered the length of life.
As I said, very short, but very powerful. It just always sends goosebumps down my spine to hear Dr. King's words out of his own mouth, and just to think about all the challenges that he was facing, he and his family, and reflect on what his contribution has meant yet all these many, many years, decades since his passing, since his assassination, and for our young people to share their voices in support of his voice. Just a beautiful thing. So thank you to the families. You might have recognized a few of those young people there. And thank their families. Thank them if you see them in the community. So I'm going to, again, toss it to Kendra, we are reaching higher heights as we keep going up to the keynote panel. But before that, we have some wonderful entertainment and wonderful performers, I should say. And I'm going to ask Kendra to introduce them and host us through this phase of the program.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Freedom fighters and community members, Catherine Grays comes to us from Dallas, Texas. She is a member of the Order of the Eastern Star. She currently serves as the musical director for the Anointed Word Assembly Pentecostal Church of God, Southwest Region, and she is also the minister of music at her home church, the Abundant Life Cathedral of Praise. She loves the Lord and has been singing as long as she could talk, and she is preparing to release her first solo project, Relentless Worship, in the spring of 2022. Along with Catherine is our headliner today. Javonta Patton is a 4-time #1 chart-topping Billboard recording artist, composer, producer, and entrepreneur. Born and raised in Minneapolis, Javonta thrived while regularly attending church with his mother, where he developed a love for God, a passion for worship, and a strong interest in gospel music. He started singing at the age of 4 and began writing songs at age 6. By the time he was in middle school, he was directing the church choir. In his adult life, he established a reputation of community service and garnered attention from then Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton, who declared July 31st, 2016, Javonta Patton Day, an honor previously granted to artists such as Prince and Adele. Patton also has millions of plays on YouTube of his viral version of My Hands Are Lifted Up. With more recognition in the music industry, Patton has been invited by the NFL and the NBA to sing the national anthem at televised playoff games. And today we are so excited to have him joining us to celebrate the life of Dr. King. So with that, Javonta, thank you so much. And I will cue it to you. I believe that you and Catherine will be doing these musical selections together, but I will let you welcome her as you are ready.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody, for having me. Happy Martin Luther King Day. I am Javonta Patton. Hopefully you guys can see me. If you can, let me know. If you can't, that's okay. But that's not okay. But I'm here to sing. I'm going to sing.
You're all good, Mr.
You're
Patton.
all good.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. I'm going to sing His Eyes on the Sparrow. One of the things is we hear this song nowadays in, funerals, but this was also one of Martin Luther King's songs that was sang in his time and in his era that was kind of like, How Great Is Our God, or just kind of like an anthem or a song that would just touch the church. Our other guest, she's going to be singing another song, and then we're going to do Amazing Grace together. I don't want to spill her song first. So I'm going to sing His Eyes on the Sparrow now. Why should I feel discouraged? And why should the shadows come? And why should my heart feel lonely and long for heaven and home? When Jesus is our portion, hallelujah, a constant friend is He. His eyes are on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. I sing because I'm happy, and I sing because I am free. God tides are on the sparrow, and I know the Lord watches, He watches me. I sing because I am happy, and I sing because I am free. God ties are on the sparrow, and I know the Lord watches. He watches me. God bless you all. This next song, I don't know if she's on. Are you on, our beautiful guest? If you're on.
I'm here. I'm
You
here.
here? Hey.
Yes. You brought tears to my eyes. I gotta get myself together. Okay. Hi.
Oh, thank you. To God be the glory. Hey, sing us. Go ahead and sing us through.
So good afternoon to everyone. Thank you all for this opportunity. The song that I've chosen was also one of the songs that would have been one of the praise and worship songs from Dr. King's day as well. I've chosen Precious Lord. His go-to girl was Mahalia Jackson. I can't necessarily say I can do it like her, but we're gonna go. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I'm tired, I'm weak, I am warm through the storm, through the night. Lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home. Listen, when my way grows dreary, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone at the river, Lord, I stand. God, my feet, hold my hand. Oh, Lord, take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home.
Beautiful. So how about I'm going to sing. You want to start off Amazing Grace, and then I just do the second verse, and then we don't belabor the time anymore.
Sure. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. blind, but now I see.
'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appeared the hour I first believed. God bless y'all. Thank y'all for singing with us and having us. Many blessings.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all so much. Pastor, I hope you enjoyed that, as I hope all of our attendees enjoyed that. Kendra, thank you, and Miss Grays and Mr. Patton for joining us from across points far and near, and we are just delighted that you were able to join us. I was just thinking about the NAACP and although our organization is a secular, non-sectarian, non-religious organization, it's hard to separate that because the Black experience is housed in the Black church. And for over the years, back in the day, the early members of our organization, often the only place that was safe to gather, and that was only relatively safe, was in the Black church, to strategize, to organize, to refuel. So it's hard for our organization to separate religion and the experiences of Black people in faith communities from the current direction and the future direction. And although our allies span the spectrum of race and ethnicity and religion, I think that we can all appreciate that history is history, and we don't want to ever separate or forget our ancestors and those who've come before us in the organization. So having Javante and Catherine remind us through their beautiful song, we're grateful. So thank you all. All right, and I am looking forward to this next phase as we keep moving forward. I'll ask our president to cue himself up, because now one of the highlights of this program is always the state of the branch, as provided to us by our presidents. And Wale is, I'm sure, prepared to do so, but I need to share just a few words for you about our president. You've seen him all over the community. You've seen him as he's represented us as president for over 2 years now. And Wale and I have the pleasure of being his colleague, as do many of you, at Mayo Clinic, where he serves as a director in the Department of Laboratory Medicine and Pathology. Wale is a wonderful father. You see him on Facebook with his kids all the time, a wonderful family man, a wonderful husband. And together, he and his wife, Dr. Audrey Alegbede, have already, in their short time in our community, contributed so much in many different ways. So Wale, on behalf of the branch, the community, we say thank you, and we are looking forward to your state of the branch. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Good afternoon, freedom fighters. And on behalf of the Rochester branch of the NAACP and our executive committee, I thank you for gracing us with your presence today as we celebrate the life legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. The state of the NAACP and the Rochester branch is indeed strong. The NAACP is the oldest civil rights organization in the country and continues to be one of the most influential. We continue to fight for you in Rochester and Minnesota at large. We also acknowledge the great work of other social justice organizations in our community and thank them for their continued leadership. The fight for social justice is not easy, and Dr. King reminds us that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. We need to make it plain and clear the problems facing us today. Racial disparities persist in almost every category, from economic opportunities education, home ownership, healthcare, police brutality, and the criminal justice system, to mention a few. Changing our trajectory will require more than change in hearts. Dr. King stated, and I quote, "I'll be the first one to say that there is real need for a lot of heart changing in our country. And I believe in the changing of the heart. I preach about it." He went on to say, "And I would be the first to say that if the race problem in America is to be solved, the white person must treat the Black person right. Not merely because the law says it, but because it's natural, because it's right, and because the Black person is his brother." He went on to say, "Although it may be true that morality cannot be legislated, behavior can be regulated. Even though it may be true that the law cannot change the heart, it can restrain the harvest. Even though it may be true that the law cannot make a man love me, it can restrain him from lynching me." And I think that's pretty important also. And so while the law may not change the hearts of men, it can, and it does change the habits of men. And when you begin to change the habits of men, pretty soon the attitudes will be changed. Pretty soon the hearts will be changed. End quote. We need bold leadership, vision, and solutions at the systemic level to solve the problems we face today. It requires more than just changing hearts. It requires genuine commitment and action translated into transparency, accountability, strategic plans, initiatives, legislations, investment, and results. In the state of Minnesota, we have one of the nation's worst education achievement gaps between Blacks and whites. We have the 12th highest Black to white prison rate. The jobless rate for Blacks is 3 times the state rate. African Americans have the lowest home ownership rate among other ethnic groups. And people of color experience shorter lifespans, heart disease, cancer, and poorer health due to society not tackling social determinants of health and the long-lasting effects of redlining and unfair policies through generations that affect many families today. Those are some of the challenges that we face. I would also like to highlight a few of the successes and progress that your Rochester branch is making lately. We are now resting on our laurels, and we still have a lot of work to do, but it's important to also acknowledge what we've done this past year. This past year, we've launched a new website, refreshed with the latest NAACP brand standards. We've worked hard to provide our members and communities with better ways to get access to us, better ways to engage with us for the betterment of our community. And I encourage you to check out our NAACP-RochesterMN.org website. Our executive committee, they continue to provide strong leadership in advancing social justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've also expanded our executive committee and have added a new chair of community engagement. Last summer, we collaborated with Journey for the Juneteenth celebration. And again, this was a great success, and we thank our sponsors, partners, and community members for joining us. At the state level, the Rochester branch of the NAACP is actively engaged in the Minnesota Dakotas Area State Conference under the leadership of Mr. W.C. Jordan, our current state conference president. Members of the NAACP, including our executive committee, also work alongside the community to provide important feedback to Rochester Public Schools as a new strategic vision and plan is being developed. And lastly, we've engaged a first of its kind strategic collaboration between Mayo Clinic and the Rochester branch of the NAACP to develop a new program called Rise for Youth. The program is designed to help Black and underrepresented students transform themselves from youth with potential to competitive and empowered talent entering the workforce. And we're not doing it alone. Our community partners, such as the Diversity Council, Barbershop Talk, our Somali community, Rochester Public School educators are helping us out in this effort. I encourage you to learn more about this program, apply, encourage your children to apply, and become mentors for our young students. The National NAACP also sees the RISE program, the Rise for Youth program, as a model and an example for other communities to follow across the nation. The NAACP remains indeed active relevant, and engaged. We are very excited about the opportunities that lay ahead in 2022. We know we can't do this alone, and we invite you to join us, to collaborate with us, and to partner. We invite individuals, organizations, departments, schools, businesses, and anyone invested and interested in our mission to collaborate with us, to donate your time, donate your talent, donate your money to help us ensure that Rochester is a great place for everyone to live and work regardless of race. We thank you for your continued support, input, and confidence. So Barbara, that concludes our state of the branch report. Our branch is strong, our state of our branch is strong, and our membership is strong.
Wonderful. Thank you, Wale. I was enthralled by your words, and in the chat, we're all going back and forth on how inspiring it is and how you made it plain. So thank you so much for your words this morning. And I'm going to cue Kendra up to move us into, well, y'all show some love virtually for our president. It's hard leading our organization, I'm gonna tell you, because I've been in this organization for a long time. And a lot of us, you know, we lead in our day-to-day 8-to-5s, and Wale has to try to corral us and move us forward in a cohesive and consistent manner, and he's doing a great job. So I want to thank you personally, Wale, for your leadership. And I know that the folks out in the virtual space, as well as those on the screen with us, sincerely appreciate your words.
Thank you all.
So, thank you. And while Kendra's getting queued up, speaking of NAACP, again, I'm going to tease a little bit about WC's words as he gives us a membership appeal. But I also want to thank all the folks who work behind the scenes with NAACP. I know that for this program, you probably saw a few new names, Jenny Wright Peterson, as well as Corinna Hughes, who worked with Kendra to put the program together. Our committee structure in the NAACP is how we get things done. And we have a fantastic education committee, which is led by Phil Wheeler and Justin Cook. Our environmental justice committee with Ray Schmitz at the helm, as well as economic development with Jennifer Belle-Isle. And we have a number of other committees that I know President Elegbede is seeking to get them active and running. And that is an opportunity for all of you to get engaged. So as you listen to WC's appeal, and then if you have questions for Wale, Kendra, myself, any of the committee chairs about ways to get involved at the committee level with our organization, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to talk to you about that. So Kendra, are you ready to take us to the next phase, which is our keynote panel?
I am, Barbara. Thank you so much.
All right,
And
it's all yours.
thank you. We are moving from the morning and into the afternoon, everybody. And I am so happy to introduce 4 Rochester community members who themselves are highly engaged in the work of Dr. Martin Luther King's dream. So as I announce each person, if you would please unmute your video and come onto the screen. So Sister Jackie Trotter moved from Chicago to Rochester with her husband Verge in 1965 for him to start a career with IBM. She has been involved with racial justice and cultural diversity since moving to Rochester. She was the charter member of the NAACP and the Diversity Council. She helped to write the first diversity curriculum for the Rochester Public Schools. She developed community diversity workshops and diversity presentations for elementary students. She is the mother of 4, the grandmother of 6, and the grateful descendant of heroic African-American ancestors. Sister Jackie, we are blessed with your presence. Thank you for joining us. Next is Sydney Fry. Sydney is the program manager for Olmsted County's Diversity, Equity, and Community Outreach team. Sydney is a public speaker on the topics of mental health and racial equity. He obtained a Master's of Divinity degree from Bethel University, as well as a Master's certificate in marriage and family therapy. Sydney teaches adolescent psychology at North Central University and is a child welfare program supervisor in his past role at Family Services Rochester. A loving husband, and he is a proud father of 5. Sydney is an avid soul food enthusiast. I am with you there, brother. Thank you so much for being with us, Sydney. Next is Mia Erickson. Mia Erickson is a Lake City, Florida native. We have a Lake City here in Minnesota as well, but Lake City, Florida. And she moved to Minnesota in 2010 and Rochester in 2013, pursuing a career with Mayo Clinic. Once settled in, it was important to get involved in the community to have a positive impact on the place she now calls home, but also to set an example for her young daughters. She currently serves as the Diversity Council Board of Directors President, also providing facilitation of Diversity Council programs and curriculum. Other board memberships include Boulder Options and Community Steering Committee to the Faith programs. She is a coach, Girl Scout troop leader, and mother of 2 amazing little girls. Thank you, Mia, for being here today. It is truly my pleasure to have you. Next is my friend, Manal Abadi. Manal migrated with her family to Rochester in the early 2000s from Jordan. She attended school here in the Rochester Public School District and is a Riverside Otter, a Friedel Falcon, and a Mayo Spartan. Manal graduated from Winona State University with a bachelor's in legal studies with an emphasis on government and nonprofit organizations. She currently works as a paralegal for Patterson Dahlberg Injury Lawyers. She previously worked for legal assistance of Olmsted County and has served on the Olmsted County Human Rights Commission. And she and I served in similar tenures. So Manal, thank you for being here.
Kendra, I'll just also join that Manal is also our new chair for community engagement at the NAACP. So we need to get her sworn in, but we're excited for Manal to join us.
Absolutely. And since I've worked with Manal, I'm not sure anybody could be as excited for that as me. So thank you, Manal. Fellow freedom fighters and Rochester community members, I can't really explain how blessed I feel today to have this intergenerational panel of experts and people truly doing the work to achieve the dream in this community. So to start our conversation today, I'd like to reflect on the fact that we are now 2.5 generations from the time that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke his dream. Only one of our panelists today really lived through that time when the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was speaking this dream into existence, and not only heard about the events through the media, but experienced that era. 3 of today's panelists were not alive to experience the events of the 1960s civil rights and racial justice movements, and they have had to learn about Dr. King's dream and about the events and leaders and influences, not from living them, but largely from textbooks in their schools and also through their own personal study and stories from others. When we talk about Dr. King's dream, it's important to know where we are on the historical timeline and where each of us enters this story, because this affects the context we have for where we are as a nation in achieving Dr. King's dream and the work we still have to do. So with that, I'll pose this question for the first 3 panelists, and I'll add a caveat before we pull Sister Jackie into this question. You'll get just a flavor of that question, Jackie. So to the others, and we'll start with Manal. How did you understand Dr. King's dream when you were in high school? And how has that changed now that you are an adult?
Yes, thank you, Kendra, and thank you, the NAACP, for having this wonderful panel today. I'm humbled to be here, and I'm humbled to be a part of such a diverse and wonderful panel. When I was younger, I had an optimistic and maybe at sometimes an ignorant viewpoint of the things that were happening around me. And therefore, I believed that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's dream had been accomplished and had become a reality. Now, as an adult, I am much more realistic and I'm aware of the things that are happening around me. Therefore, through my personal experiences, through national and local experiences, I know that there's still a lot of work to be done to accomplish Martin Luther King's dream. I believe that the dream is actually a call to all generations to continue to move towards justice and equity for many years to come. It's not going to happen overnight. And so we continue to work and move forward to accomplish the dream.
Thanks for that, Manal. Mia, I'm interested to know if you had a similar experience or what your experience was like when you were in high school, and how has that changed as you've become the mother of two and have a professional career and have all of those experiences in the world. What was your view of the dream when you were in high school, and how has that changed, if it has?
Well, I would share the same idea as Manal, that there was a certain level of ignorance there that, I had access to things. It wasn't like it may have been, a few generations ago where we didn't go to the same school or we had to, drink at different water fountains and things like that. I was in the presence of people who looked, like me, not like me, but we still had access. So in my mind, with my maturity level at that time, I thought that, well, hey, I have access, so we're getting there. We're making progress. We're moving along. But it's not until I got older that I realized that access wasn't enough and that it goes deeper than that. And I'll even go back a little bit further too, back further than even high school. And I've shared this story before of growing up in Lake City, Florida, where school was shut down and we would be taken to bus to, time would be provided for us to go and celebrate the Olustee Festival. And, there'd be Confederate flags up, we'd be walking around the festival, with our cotton candy and going to the different vendors and things like that, totally unaware of what like the Olustee Festival and what the happenings of that time actually meant. But the school supported it. So we figured, okay, but we didn't realize the impact that it had on someone that looked like me versus someone who didn't. But it's, again, that ignorance of not knowing and just realizing that the narrative that you're being taught, even when you're younger, as you get to middle school, as you get to high school, that narrative continues and you're not as aware of what's going on. And so then as I'm, older now and I'm starting to see more of those things where it's just like, okay, yes, I have access, but that doesn't mean that it's equal. It doesn't mean that we're on the same playing field. It doesn't mean that I have had the same opportunities as other people. And so you start to look back and see where these things that may have been missed or opportunities that you weren't shown or you didn't, I don't want to just say not shown, but opportunities that I didn't take because I didn't expect more. And so I'd say now as an older woman, as an adult, I expect more. The awareness is there. And so I'm raising the bar for myself and then holding others around me accountable to also raise the bar. Because we deserve better. Now that we know better, we can do better because we do deserve better.
Mia, I'll share that when I was in my 20s, I started my career at Mayo, but I took a pause and I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. And for a while, I didn't have a full-time paying job. I just volunteered with a refugee organization. And I didn't know anything about the South. So one day I wanted to get the kids, outside, and I asked somebody, what are some local parks with, some history or something that like could be a teaching moment. And so somebody suggested Stone Mountain. And not having known the history, I took a whole group of African-American children to Stone Mountain for a picnic. And so I can't tell you how much I am humbled by this journey and the mistakes that we can make. But to know that what you said, when we know better, we must do better. And so I would enjoin everybody to not think that you won't make mistakes on these journeys and to let our journey forward be imperfect. And so thank you for sharing that story. It meant so much to me. Sydney, can we bring you into the conversation? Can you share with us a little bit about your journey in this understanding of Dr. King's dream, both from the time you were a teenager and maybe now that you are a father of 5 and do this work in our community?
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity. I would coincide with a lot of what has already been said, share some similar sentiments as far as how my understanding of the dream has changed over the years. I think as a youth, as an adolescent, the way it was messaged and framed to me was more in a way that made me view the dream as cute at some level. I mean, there was the imagery, right, of children, of all different colors and races holding hands and, effectively singing Kumbaya, that kind of sentiment, right? And so I think now for me as an adult, I don't see the dream necessarily in that same lens as being quote unquote cute. I see it as being critical, right? And I think for me, what has changed it from being cute to critical is what the other panelists shared is having more context really about what's going on. If you look at if you look at his speech in 1963, the I Have a Dream speech, he talks a lot about the tranquility of the tranquilizing drug of gradualism, I think is the correct quote. And a lot of times we hear, look at the progress that we've made, see how far we've come. But that I think is indicative of that kind of gradualism, like we've gotten far enough, aren't you happy now kind of sentiment. And so I think as Dr. King, as Reverend King shared in his dream speech, the reason that he really showed up in Washington, D.C. was because he wanted to cash a check that America had written to the Negro over 100 years ago that they hadn't paid up on. And he was there effectively to collect on that promise of freedom and equality. And so it's not, I don't think the irony for me, present day, is lost as I'm trying to explain to my kids in the aftermath of the events that took place in South Minneapolis at 38th and Chicago Avenue, where George Floyd lost his life. It's ironic, right, that America has not cashed its check to us as a people, but this man lost his life because he allegedly wrote a bad check. Like there's some inherent irony there for me that it shows that we still have a long way to go. And so that's why I think for me, the dream is more critical than ever before.
I have chills. I just have chills. Yes. So, Sister Jackie, you lived during the time that Dr. King's dream was so much more alive in everyday life and alive in the work. I'd like to ask you a different perspective than our other panelists. Are there things that you notice that are different about today's Black Lives Matter movement or the racial justice movements of the 60s? What things do you see are the same? What things do you see are different? Talk about any paradoxes that you see. Jackie, you'll need to come off mute. This is the world we are in.
First, I would have to say I'm uplifted both by the work of the NAACP today and by the comments of these 3 young people. Barbara talked about the contribution of Destiny and other young people. Well, all of you are young to me, and I am delighted, as I said, uplifted by the work that's being done. So the differences between the protests and activism of people now and in the past, does that capture it? I would say the likenesses are that that the people who are protesting see the wrong. And in the past, the people who were protesting saw the wrong. And so to me, that is very different. In the past, people were more likely to be killed and injured for protesting, as well as protesting for walking, living, driving Black. Now it is less likely that people will be killed during the protest, but still likely that people will be killed walking, jogging, living, driving as Black people. I would say in both of the instances, the participants in the marches then and now have been frequently trended toward young people. So that again is a likeness. So I see more of the same than I do. There was a mix of different races in the past, and I would say it is more so now. And I would say that the protests are bigger now. And I would say that one of the biggest differences is the media coverage. The media coverage makes more people aware of what's going on. So those are some of the differences and the likenesses. And I would like to reinforce what the other panelist has said, that for me, the dream of Dr. King is an equal access to resources and opportunities, a redoing of institutions to get rid of racism, but also addressing the legacy of racism. And that reinforces what the other panelists have said.
Jackie, as I reflected on my own question, like you, I just was able to list so many similarities and, many differences too, because there has been change, enough change that, 3 of our panelists and myself for some time may have believed we were living kind of in a post-racial world. But I think the common thread that I hope is coming out for other people is now we have to experience and bring forward the dream through learning about this in our communities and learning about this in our schools. So, that's a conversation for another day, but it's, I think, a pretty important discussion that I know the NAACP wants to continue to have. And so pivoting to our next question, and we'll go in the same order. We've talked about this paradox that I just mentioned, that there's been progress in the movement, and at the same time, sometimes we feel like we have barely moved. I want to ask each of you, what kind of radical reimagination of this social justice and racial justice work do we need to have in the Rochester community in order for us to move more fully and realize Dr. King's dream? Manal, can I start with you?
Yeah. So I guess I want to start by saying, I really don't think there's anything radical about standing up for justice, racial equity, and human rights. I think that's the right thing to do. And when you're doing it, sometimes it can be labeled as radical, but I believe that when we do it because those are the values that we hold, and therefore it is not radical. I think we should have made much more progress than we have made now. And, this time and age, we would have wished that we were much further along. And so I believe the fact that we're not further along can sometimes be disheartening. And so what we can do to move towards racial equity, justice, and the dream is, as an individual, we need to educate ourselves through unbiased and equitable sources. And then we need to educate our circle around us. And sometimes that's going to lead to uncomfortable conversations where your voice is going to shake at the table. And so those conversations are going to be very important. And you're going to have to create the space for those conversations, even when you're uncomfortable. Second, I think it's really important that we find organizations, candidates, and causes that reflect the values that we carry. And lastly, I would say, or I used to say, treat others how you want to be treated. But now I'm a parent, and so I say, treat others how you want your children to be treated, because I want to see a future where my child doesn't have to feel uncomfortable in any room because of their gender, race, ethnicity, religious background. And I want her to feel comfortable in the community that she lives in. And as a community, I think we need to focus on the power of the ballot. We need to participate in our civic duty, and we need to vote, vote, vote. We need to understand that many generations before us, from the civil rights movement all the way to the women's rights movements, have fought for our right and ability to have our voices heard through the ballot. And so that's not something we should take for granted, and we need to utilize that option.
Thanks, Manal. You know, when I think about my children, it's not just about wanting them to be comfortable. Yes, I agree that would be progress, you know, making sure all of our kids are comfortable. But as Barbara mentioned, you know, this is an organization, the NAACP, that does have a history with faith. And so I believe that God gave our children gifts. And if our community can't see the gifts in some people, our community will not be better for that. Our community will be worse for that. And that is why we see the racial gaps that we do in Minnesota, because we sometimes as white people cannot see. And so I'm going to kick this to you, Mia. You know, talking about those paradoxes, how do you reimagine the work that needs to be done in Rochester for us to better realize Dr. King's dream?
I would say continuing to bring more diverse voices to the table in every situation. When decisions are being made, everyone in the room shouldn't look the same. There should be a wealth of diversity in the room, whether we're talking about plans for, you know, the schools, plans for health, plans for building up, you know, a random building. There should be multiple voices at the table that can reflect the diversity that does exist here in Rochester. And we should be empowering those voices to speak and use them. And when we start to use our voices, then we are setting the example for our kids to say, hey, wait a minute, there's power here. I shouldn't be afraid to speak up, not just speak up to share how they feel, but speak up whenever they see something going on that doesn't feel right to them. And then also helping them navigate it on how they feel and how they can continue to do better as their generation comes up. Because we can impact multiple generations in this space, and we have to be able to normalize what that true diversity and multiculturalism looks like. That has to be the norm. We can't walk into a room and, you know, when you see, you know, half the room is, you know, different. It's like, oh, wow, this is cool. No, that should be the norm. That's what it should look like anyway. So we have to, how we can do better is continuing to challenge what we have just accepted as normal and say, this isn't normal. We can do better. Let's go in this direction.
Mia, I'd like to build on that, because I could not agree more. We will do better science. We will do better healthcare. We will do better education if there is diversity in the room. And for those people who maybe, you know, newer to this journey, if this is coming across in this conversation like we just want to have people in the room because they're different color, we're missing what I just said about, you know, being able to see and appreciate those experiences and those talents that God has given everybody, and to believe that we are richer for that diversity. So,
and I will add, it can't just be just to provide our input at the table. We need to be a part of actually making the decision. Don't just bring us in as a consult.
Amen.
We should be able to make the decisions as well, because we're impacted by them. And in most cases, we're impacted more so than others.
And to lead the direction, Sydney, can we hear from you?
Yeah, I would completely echo what has already been stated. I think those references to both representation and education, as my fellow panelist has referenced hitherto, are critical pieces of moving forward. One thing I would add to that list, in addition to representation and education, would be investment. I think that's another thing that we really do need. And I think President Wale had referenced this as it relates to welcoming Black-owned or minority-owned businesses into our community. We need to not only welcome them, but we need to also invest in them and effectively put our money where our mouth is as it relates to being able to really understand. And again, I'll reference Dr. King. In his speech, he talked about that the Negro has lived on this lonely island of poverty. And as I look at the statistics within Olmsted County, I see that we're still on that island, because over 50% of African-American residents in Olmsted County live at less than 125% of the federal poverty level. So we understand that this is economically, and not a lot of things have changed as it relates to our communities. And so I think investing in those communities is an essential and critical part of that. And whether that's how that looks, I think can look in a lot of different ways, but I think it's critically important that that's something that we as a community look at and strongly consider ways that we can do that in a concerted and what's the word I'm looking for, intentional way. So that would be what I would add. I think all of those pieces are important, and there's more obviously that could be said, but I think those are some things that we can practically work at toward moving forward.
I know that Barbara too, and WC, all of the NAACP, but being one of the newer members of the NAACP, that has been something that they have been on their platform speaking of for such a long time. And so to invest in Black business and to really have the community appreciate, to move from just including to truly being able to see and appreciate the differentiation. And again, the amazing fabric that this community could have if we saw and invested and appreciated. And so we'll move to Sister Jackie. And Sister Jackie, what do you see as the radical reimagination of the work?
First of all, I would like to say that the fellow panel members have laid out a wonderful plan and a pretty comprehensive and cohesive plan. And I would like to compliment the NAACP presently for the leadership and the work that they've done to make various aspects of what the three panel members have said bring to reality. So I think that it is important that we do appreciate what people are doing around us, because this work can be very draining and at sometimes disillusioning. My personal mantra has been do what you can do with what you have where you are. And one of the ways that I lived that out was one of my children came home and said, in first grade, and said that the children were feeling his hair and that he didn't like it. and that if I didn't come up to school and tell them all about Black people, he was going to beat them up. And I knew that he would have. And I thought that that wasn't the most effective way to do it. And so I talked to his teachers, which led to years of going into classrooms, telling kids about why they had different color skin, why they had different kinds of hair. And the most relieved people I saw when I talked about hair was the redheaded kids. And I would tell them, give them some Black history and give them some tools for dealing with people when they saw somebody bullied or they were bullied. And one day I taught them a lesson about the kids at Fisk University doing sit-ins in Nashville. And at one point, the kids marched to City Hall. They were led by Diane Nash, and they talked to the mayor, Mayor Ben West. And Diane Nash asked him if he thought discrimination was wrong. And he said, yes. And this little third grade girl, she was white, her hand shot up, and she said, Mrs. Trotter, if they knew it was wrong, why did he do it? And I think it's important that we remember that there are people who don't care if our community is better if we bring everyone to the table, as long as the community is good for them. It's a very disheartening thing to think that there are people who really don't want things to get better or be different. I've spent a lot of my life in the area of education, and each panelist has mentioned that in some way. And this NAACP has worked for years in the area of education because we have been systemically miseducated on race in our country. And so, and for me, ignorance is a self-perpetuating poverty. We are poor as a community when we are ignorant. Some people don't care. So while and it's clear that half of our senators, though they have access to all the information they could need, that they know that racial justice is necessary, they will not allow us to have a voting rights bill passed. So I would ask all of us to be heartened, even in the face of people who really know that it would be better, but really don't care as long as it's good for them. And remember that there are people, and it is the people of goodwill who we need to work to radically improve the skills and equipment that they have and that we have to make changes. And if we use what we have where we are to do what we can, we will make a radical difference in the Rochester community. And I would like to thank all of you for all the radical differences that you are making in each of your walks.
Jackie, thank you so much. You know, what you've just called upon us to do is really hard. This work is really hard because you're asking us to understand and really face the fact that there are people who don't want this work to be done. And yet, in order to move, we have to still have an element of belief in benign intent, or at least enough to engage people, because we can't live in this, two separate worlds. So thank you for calling us into this really difficult work. And thank you so much to all of the panel participants. This has been an amazing discussion. And I really hope that our community is able to access this discussion and join us in this work. So I will kick it back to Barbara and Wale, and thank you for this time.
Thank you, Kendra. Thank you so much. And to each of the panelists, I've been in the chat just kind of sharing my own thoughts about what you've said, and everything resonated so well with me, and I suspect with so many of our audience out there, because your words speak the truth. Your words are powerful, and your words will stay with us. So it's hard to get up here and share. You make yourself vulnerable. I know that, having done it so many times, and yet you all shared from the heart. We could tell your sincerity and your thought that went into what you've shared. And full disclosure for our audience, we do put these questions together. We try to be thoughtful and share them in advance with the audience, with the panelists. So this is not a gotcha, so that they can give thought. And it's clear you all are sharing from the heart, and we are so thankful to you for doing so. Out there in the virtual space and on the screen, y'all share some positive thoughts and some love with our panelists for a job well done. And Kendra, thank you for hosting and moderating. It was fantastic.
No, great job, Kendra, and the panel. And to the audience, the challenge that I'll have pose is, you've heard our panel, you've heard the State of the Branch report. We've had a lot of fantastic people that have shared important words. What are we going to do now? The problems ahead of us are really clear, but what are we going to do? So, and I think we have it within our power. So this is not a problem that we can't solve. The question is, do we have the intention, the genuine intention to really advance equity and social justice for all? And if the answer is yes, and it should be yes, then we need to get together and do the hard work so that all of our kids can be successful.
Thank you, Wale. I couldn't have said it any better. Thank you so much. So while Wale is queuing up a video for us, we're again quite ahead of schedule. Our scheduled stop time is 1:30. We'll probably finish a little bit before then. So we do have time to share a video with you. And again, Wale has been so instrumental in helping move this initiative forward. I'm not going to steal any of his thunder and let him introduce the video for us. And then we will move right into our membership appeal with W.C. Jordan. So if you will, Wale, would you give us just a little bit of a preview of what's going to happen with this video?
Sure. And this is, we're going to be highlighting the Rise for Youth program. And again, this is a strategic collaboration with Mayo Clinic, the Rochester branch of the NAACP, and our partners that are helping us with the selection of students into this program, from Diversity Council, Barbershop Talk, our Somali community, and others, educators. When we did this program, this was also a really, we also had great support from Dr. Bagra, the medical director for Mayo Clinic's Office of Equity and Inclusion and Diversity, and as well as Mayo Clinic leadership, all the way to Dr. Jean-Rico Farrugia. But when we did this program, we also talked to students, to hear the voice of the customer. And some of the words that our youth, our young leaders shared were really, really heartfelt. And at least for me, it gave me a lot more hope that, look, in our future, the talent is there, the knowledge is there, but we need to make sure that we foster, our kids to become the next leaders of tomorrow. So we're going to be highlighting the Rise for Youth program, which is going to comprise of the Rise Up and the Rise High program. So we'll just, I'll stop talking and I'll let you guys hear from our young leaders in our community.
Rise answers a call for an extremely unique need in this community to help improve what the future can look like for students. Unfortunately, I think growing up, a common experience among Black and underrepresented students is being questioned or doubted in terms of their future, and hearing negative things or comments like, you're not going to make it or you can't reach this from others is hurtful, and it stunts students' growth. So I think it's such a huge deal that RISE can be really accessible and help bring out the potential in all of its participants, and really see how each student can amplify their own great qualities that they already have and truly help them to enhance their skills in other areas as well.
This program was designed for our youth in mind, and this program really provides us with a way for us to empower our youth. It provides new pathways for success, and it also makes sure that our youth have the opportunity to realize your dreams.
It's going to be a 4-week program, and it's comprised of 2 parts. Rise High, which is a high school program for juniors and seniors, and Rise Up, that is our undergraduate program. And essentially what we are looking to provide are leadership capabilities, access, networking, and long-term mentoring.
As students apply and are accepted, those who are accepted will receive a stipend. Those who are accepted, if they need help with transportation, will have help with transportation. There will be school supplies or supplies for the program. There will be individual mentors for students for different aspects of the mentorship program, as well as a cohort that you will go through with.
Think of this as preparing you for college. If you want to, achieve your goals in life, this mentorship is a key. This mentorship, it's a key, and you're just a lock, and they're there to open you up. That's literally all.
Exploring different career fields, you'll be talking to different people. I rushed at it and I was like, yes, this is something that I need right now. I need to be a bit more solidified in what I want to go into.
I definitely think that those programs helped me gain leadership skills, and they helped me gain a better understanding of the professional world, especially coming straight out of high school. And it also helped me, grow professionally, and just being able to work in a professional environment.
I think the skills that I gained in that program reflected and translated throughout my entire college career. I felt like I had a lot of resources and knowledge in me, and definitely people that I can always go back to, and felt like I had made a lot of connections throughout that program.
When I came into the mentorship, I was a book I had questions with no answers, basically. And at the end of the mentorship, I was like a book filled with answers.
I see RISE at its core a very solution-centered program. It will definitely need the life from our youth. We are only one part of RISE. We are the creators and the enablers, but the solutions will come when our youth engage with it.
I believe that the RISE program will be extremely important for Black and unrepresented youth to get on a track toward success. And throughout the program, I think students will be able to really grow their toolbox of skills throughout the activities and lessons and weeks over the program to slowly accumulate an array of all the abilities to help them then in their future increase their career opportunities. So I definitely think there will be a lasting impact on students and then the community also.
Fantastic. Oh, I get chills every time I see that video. Thank you for sharing that with us, Wale, and for all of you out there who are looking for opportunities to serve and get involved. Contact Wale, myself, Kendra. We are happy to share more information about RISE for Youth, and we're also happy to hook you up with pathways to mentorship, pathways to, we actually are going to be using faculty, if you will, from the community as we continue to develop the programming, and look forward to just making this a very integrated, interactive program in support of our youth. But we need, again, every brain in the game.
Yeah, and again, it's we're really excited about this program. It's and also Mayo Clinic's commitment, right? It's a investment in our community. I'm going to challenge other businesses, other organizations. What can they do? we are focused on education disparities through the Rise for Youth program. But there's so many other areas when you're looking at healthcare, when you're looking at housing disparities, business representation. But our youth are really important, and they're the leaders of the future. So, that video, Barbara, gave me chills as well, and it also gave me hope. But as Dr. King mentioned, look, we need to really ensure that when it comes to our kids' safety, when it comes to the knowledge, we just have to pour all of our love into all these kids. And it's not just by us saying it, it's going to be by us investing in our community. It's going to be by us pouring our networks, our access, mentoring, so if you have knowledge and if you have access and leadership, and I believe we all do, get engaged in the Rise for Youth program. What can you do? Dr. King talks about what can you do for others? Well, this is an example of what you can do for others with our youth. There are other programs in our community, and we definitely acknowledge the great work that's going on. And so there are definitely other programs from a leadership perspective. But this is something new and innovative that the Rochester branch and Mayo Clinic are doing. So we encourage you to learn more and to get engaged.
Thank you, Brother President. And just again, what is it? We need a lot of oars in the water, colleagues and community, to move forward the success of our young people. So as Wale just stated, this is just one of several major initiatives in our community. Many have been going on for years, and I won't try to name them because I'll forget some, but this is, again, just another oar in the water to continue to move us forward.
Yeah,
so
I will share, Barbara, that one thing that's also really that we're excited about is that, so when it comes to the selection of the students, this is not just the NAACP saying, hey, okay, we're working with a diversity council, Pastor Crocker, Bud Whitehorn have been instrumental. We've been working closely with them, Dee Sable and her team. We've had, our Somali community. So, this is going to be a community effort in terms of the selection of the students, and for our students, the challenge is show up, be engaged. We're also going to track the success of this. So it's a really ambitious program. And as I said earlier in my State of the Branch report, the National NAACP sees this as a model. So we have an opportunity in Rochester to do something truly special. And I think we can, and I hope this is the first of many.
I would agree. Thank you again, Wale. And we'll keep moving forward. We started on time. We're going to end on time today. I can see that looking at our schedule and the time. So I'm going to invite another person who needs no introduction. He's a man of faith and a man of action. He serves as president of our Minnesota-Dakota Area State Conference for the NAACP. He is a servant leader and a faithful follower. And I kind of like him, actually. So I'm going to ask you to please join me in welcoming W.C. Jordan to share the membership appeal with us. W.C., please.
Thank you, Barbara, for that introduction. Good afternoon, members and friends. On behalf of the NAACP's Executive Committee, members and friends, it is my honor to be able to share a membership appeal. First, I welcome you to the program and bid you a happy Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday as we honor his memory and cherish his legacy. Over the years, I have revisited and examined his body of work, as the question is always asked, what would Dr. King say if he were alive today? This is the question, or a question that no one can answer. However, he left us with a blueprint of knowledge and insight into his activism. One of my favorite sermons from Dr. King was the Drum Major Instinct, which he delivered on February the 4th, 1968, 2 months before his assassination. I recommend that you listen to it if you're not familiar with it. I remember Dr. King concluded this sermon by imagining his own funeral. He urged the congregation not to dwell on his life's achievements, including his receipt of the Nobel Peace Prize. Dr. King asked to be remembered as one who tried to live his life serving others. In serving others, Dr. King advocated for many of the same priorities as the NAACP. There are many ways that you can serve. And one of those is by becoming a member of the largest and the oldest, the baddest and the boldest, the most loved and most hated, the most feared and revered, the most cussed and discussed civil rights organization in America, the NAACP. Join us. We ask that you support local and state efforts to address and advocate for change to some of the worst disparities of people of color in these United States. Join and get engaged to help our local branch president to achieve the agenda that he articulated earlier. I served many years as branch president, and now, as then, the support is welcome and appreciated. One in the struggle. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, WC. Thank you so much. That WC currently serves as our vice president for the Rochester branch, and I know he's sincere when he, like Wale and Kendra, whose job it is to really work with membership in our branch, we all welcome inquiries and, even more important, memberships into the organization. As we move forward a pretty ambitious agenda, Wale has us thinking strategy and trying to be very thoughtful about how we move forward. But you know, the organization is the individuals who make up the branch. It is not Wale or me or Kendra. It's all of us together. The collective that's why we refer to it as a branch. So with that, Wale, I think we've come to the end. Before you cue the happy birthday song, we don't have, one of our highlights of the People's Program is always the birthday party, where our community donates wonderful birthday cakes, and we have a chance to really decompress after a morning full of celebration and marching and breakfast and program, and just have birthday cake and think about Dr. King and truly celebrate his birthday. Well, we won't have a chance to do that, of course, because we're in the virtual space, but we're still going to celebrate with singing happy birthday to Dr. King. But I'd ask Wale to join me, and we'd like to conclude the program by thanking everyone. Wale, I did want us to take a few moments to invite our colleagues to join us over the next month as we move into Black History Month. And I would share with the folks on the screen that plans are well underway for a 4-week program of town halls on Saturday morning from 11 to 12:30. Topics will include everything from DMC, what's in it for me is how we're titling that. Racial covenants, perhaps an area that you've not thought about, but that our education committee has been zealously exploring and working to rid our property rolls of these outdated and no longer enforced racial covenants, but to understand how this has impacted the experience of so many people in our country, right here in our own community. Redistricting, you've heard about it with the 2020 census, how important it is for we to make sure our voices are heard as lines are being drawn today that could have adverse impact on our voting power as people of color, as minority communities. So we'll explore that in one of our sessions. And Kendra will be leading a memorial, which we've done some memorials in the past, and they're always powerful opportunities for us to stop and reflect on those who have gone before us. We'll look at those who've lost their lives due to police violence, those in the transgender community, missing and Indigenous women. We'll look at those who celebrities and those who have gone on, but just to stop and reflect. I'm one who wants to never forget my ancestors. And, even though these folks may not be in my lineage, they're important because they're part of history. And we're not changing history. We want to celebrate their lives and to recognize what they contributed. So please join us. And I'm looking forward to, Brother President has a session that I'm calling it President's Choice on our programming, as you'll see. And I know Wale will be doing something special for us. So Brother President, any thoughts about next month?
Yeah, and Barbara, before next month, I just want to take time to really acknowledge the leadership of Mr. W.C. Jordan. I mean, he has been engaged in our community for such a long time, and also at the state conference. And it's not easy work, right? So we need to do work at the local level. We need to do work at the state level. And again, with the NAACP, we're everywhere. But we need to be in more places, and that's why we need the community. When you have the community with you, when you have the talent and the energy, then I think there's nothing we can't achieve. So WC, just thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your mentorship, Barbara, as well, and for all the members that are here, that are watching us, or people that are not members. Again, you've heard all the fantastic things about what we plan to do, what our desires are. We needed to be engaged in that game. And in terms of the next month, the Black History Month, it's going to be virtual. We wish you could be, face to face, but we have to keep our community safe. So we're excited about that. It's going to be fantastic. And so just keep engaging with us. Go to the NAACP page. There's a volunteer get engaged, join us button. Click on that. And then we'll just take it from there. And for everybody, the mayor, our panelists, the entertainers, and Pastor Rowe and others. So thank you so much for just blessing us with your time, and your knowledge and just your history. So we are most appreciative. And obviously to Mayo Clinic and our community partners, thank you for working with us, partnering with us, collaborating with us to make sure that the Rise for Youth program is something that is very successful.
Amen. Thank you. And I would just ask WC and Kendra, I'm not sure if any of our other officers are on the screen with us this morning. If you have any final thoughts to share.
I shared it on Facebook and I shared it in the chat. This is heavy and hard work, but I love this branch. I feel like I am with my people when I am doing this work with this branch. And it's a great feeling. And I hope that many of you will look for an organization where you can get that feeling. And I believe we're that.
Yeah, and Kendra, I'll just quickly share too, when you look at the history of the NAACP, it's we have diverse groups in our in our communities. We have Black, white, Latino, Asians. Our focus is really broad, social justice for all. We have people of different faiths. I'm a Muslim. I love my faith. I love my Christian brothers and sisters. So this is the cause of social justice is one of the highest callings in life, I believe. If we get social justice right, that is what the Bible, that's what our spiritual text talks about, being your brothers and sisters keeper. So we need to work hard towards achieving that.
Amen.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Very well said. The history of the organization, the NAACP, for all these over 100 years is exactly what Wale just said. So thank you all. Have a fantastic Dr. Martin Luther King birthday day. And if you can, Mayor, I see your hand. Please feel free. Oh, you're waving. Okay. To all of you out there, thank you. We're going to sing happy birthday, Wale, if you'll cue the song. And we look forward to working with everyone over the next year and rejoining you 2023.
key to unity of all people is in the dream that you had so long ago that lives in all of the hearts of people who believe in unity. We'll make the dream become a reality. I know we will, because our hearts tell us so.